This is Mark B's perspective, and I'm coming at you with another video. In this video, man, we're going to talk about the death penalty in the United States. And I will also touch on what's called a judge's override in death penalty sentencing or capital murder sentencing cases. Man, you do not want to miss this. Okay, listen, when you talk about the death penalty, right, it has a long, I'm not going to say rich history, but it has a long history, man. You can go back to early civilizations and study where they practice what's known as the death penalty, right, or execution or whatever it may be, right? You even see old movies when they had like the guillotine, where you put your head in the thing and the thing just come down and chop your head off. You see older movies, even westerns, when they would hang people, right? And I'm not talking about lynching of African Americans. I'm talking about the legal thing when they would hang criminals. If they thought you were guilty, right? Sometimes they didn't even have a trial. But let's speed this thing, this death penalty thing up, right? To get to my point of even making this video. So people were getting, or let's say criminals or those who have been convicted of a crime were sentenced to death. You had some people who were sentenced to death. In the year of 1972, a man by the name of William Henry Furman, right, in the state of Georgia, went to court and said, listen, this death penalty thing is cruel and unusual. Punishment is wrong. It's not right. We need to get rid of it. He may have been just fighting for his case, or maybe he was fighting for all cases. Long story short, he won the case and they abolished the death penalty in the United States. Now, this was temporarily though, but they did abolish the death penalty in the United States in 1972. When that happened, there were 629 individuals who were on death row, I guess. And what they did, they converted their sentence from the death to life. They converted those 629 people that have death sentences to life. Now, you know the famous case about Charles Manson. He's listed as a serial killer. He was one of those individuals. Charles Manson was actually sentenced by the state of California to die, to death. He was sentenced to death, right? When this happened, this also affected him. And that's how he was able to get from under the death penalty. Now we know that the death penalty has been argued back and forth. Some people don't agree with it. Some people say, man, you kill mine is an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, right? They want justice. But I also have seen families, man, of victims, murder victims, who say, I still don't want them to die. We don't believe in a death penalty. So even up to that time, it was a back and forth fight, and the fight continued even after this, because after this happened in 1972, 4 years later, some things happened. First, the states, they went back and revamped and made it more, instead of being cruel and unusual, they made a lot of changes, and they was ready in 1976 when it got reinstated. The death penalty at that time was reinstated in the year of 1976. But the law, right, and most states were probably still stern on the death penalty, but they had a problem because citizens started looking at it a little bit different. And if you know, by right, with the Sixth Amendment, you got a right to a jury. And if you have a jury on your trial, you also have the jury on your sentencing. And at this time, it was a chance that most jurors, not most, I'm gonna just say you have a chance that some jurors, depending on the case, may have sympathy for the defendant and recommend was life, right, instead of the death. So, and to ensure that what happened, this where it came in with the judicial override. Judges, even though the jury heard the case, they did guilty or not guilty, but when it came to the penalty case, phase of the case, and if the jury said life or something that the judge did not agree with, the judge still had the authority to override their recommendation and go from, instead of life, to give that individual the death penalty. So that was in 1976. So time went by, people continued to get sentenced. They said the first year that they reinstated the death penalty, a lot of cases were recommended. These are capital cases to even face the death penalty. They recommended, the judges in a lot of cases recommended life. In the state of Alabama, they said that first year they had the judge overrode, use his authority, the judge override authority in 112 cases, man. So they was like, okay, y'all got rid of the death penalty before, but now we standing on business. We not going for that. And so the judges were prepared and they were using that authority and they overrode. They said in Alabama, they overrode like 91% of the cases. These are the 4 states that I want y'all to realize that really was standing on business when it comes to judicial override. And that was the state of Alabama, the state of Delaware, the state of Florida, and the state of Indiana, right? These states had judges and they was hardliners. The first state out of them 4 who banned judge override in those situations was the state of Indiana. The state of Indiana was the first one to ban that, and that was in 2002. And then after that, Florida and Delaware in 2016, right? And the last state to ban or call it unconstitutional or whatever they did was the state of Alabama, and that was in the year of 2017. But speaking of Alabama, right, even though judges can no longer override these cases, there's still 25 to 30 prisoners or death row inmates who are under, I guess you'll call it the old law. They had their sentence they were given the death penalty after the jury recommended, right, life or life without, whatever the sentence was. The judges in those cases overrode the jury and gave them the death penalty. And this is the problem, right? There's no state that allows it at this time. In the year of 2026, there's no state that allows judge override. But now we got a predicament. What do we do with those 25 to 30 inmates that are currently on death row who the jury recommended life or life without, and the judge overrode and gave them the death penalty? What do y'all think? What should happen to those individuals? Because when they banned the override, it didn't go, would you say they didn't make it retroactive? Because if something is unconstitutional or banned, right? Wouldn't you think it'll apply to everybody? If unanimously as a country, they agree that judge override should not happen, what about them 25 to 30 people in Alabama that's still on death row that could be executed any day, right? What about them? What do you think should happen, man? Let's share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think should happen? Should those 25 people, 25 to 30 people, should they get, or should their sentence automatically, right, be commuted or turned into a life sentence or life without or whatever? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments, man. This is a real issue. They're real human beings. I'm not even talking about or discussing what they have committed. I'm just talking about we got a law that's banned throughout the United States. Every state has banned this law, but we still got 25 to 30 people who's under it. And just because they didn't make it retroactive, these individuals may die. Let's talk about that in the comments section. One of them, I'm going to make a couple more videos about this. One of the very next one that I'm going to do is going to be Jeffrey Lee, right? He's one of them individuals and his execution date is coming up real soon. But share in the comments. Let's talk about it, man. Listen, I want to thank y'all for watching this video. Thank you for the continued support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate the support. If you have not done it already and you found value in this video, man, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified anytime I make a video. Listen, man, don't forget to share in the comments. I really want to hear from y'all. I want to know y'all thoughts. What do y'all think about these individuals? Should we not care about them because they have committed a crime, or should they get the justice that America say they deserve? Because we say that judicial override is unconstitutional, is banned, but they did not make it retroactive. Share that in the comments, man. I want to thank y'all once again. I appreciate y'all for the continued support. Until next time, man, y'all be safe out there. Peace.